call to order the regular city commission meeting for August 5th, 2020. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Rachel Lau-Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Present.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Here. So, Katie, what's this? I don't have the agenda in front of me, so what's next?
So the next item would be our presentation by ODOT on the I-205 tolling update. But unfortunately, I think because we're running so far behind that they are not going to be logging in. I have not seen them connect via Zoom. So we're going to skip to the next item, which would be citizen comment. And I do have a citizen comment from a...
Ms. Riggs, I just wanted to real quick under presentations, Mr. Mayor, if I could, just wanted to introduce our new Parks and Rec Director. Would that be all right?
Please do.
Okay, so I'd like to ask to come up Mr. Kendall Reed, our new Parks and Rec Director. He joins us from Willamette Lane, where he managed down there multiple programs and facilities. So he started last Tuesday with us here at the city and been meeting with staff, visiting some of the sites, some of the construction projects that we have going on, getting to know the priorities of the commission, the budget. So essentially getting a ton of information thrown at him really quickly. So I just really do want to welcome Kendall to the team. I'm very excited to work with them and introducing him to the community and to the commission. And I don't know if Kendall wanted to just say a couple things real quick.
I'm just really excited to be here and serving the Oregon City community. I have a fantastic team, really enjoyed going out and meeting them. And I look forward to working with all of you and just bringing great programming, great facilities to the Oregon City community.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Lynn. Welcome. Kendall, thanks.
Thank you.
And then, thank you, Kendall. And then just wanted to do a quick update and ask Mr. Graham, our Economic Development Manager, to come up to update the commission about the Community Showcase. So this is combining tourism, economic development, and COVID relief for our small business restaurants. So if I can have Mr. Graham, as he's coming in, we'll give you a quick update on that, which we've just kicked off this week.
Will we be showing the video or no?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go ahead and do that right now.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, city manager.
Relief for our small
Mr.
business
Graham, hang
restaurants. So if I can have Mr. Graham, as he's coming in.
What was that?
A little bit of delay.
Oh,
Let's play a video.
Do that right now.
good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, city manager.
Relief for our small
Mr.
business
Graham, hang on.
So if I can have Mr. Graham, as he's coming in.
What was that?
We love technology.
Hold on. So let me just make sure I mute everybody here. I'm just going to mute everybody. Everybody's muted but ourselves. Okay. Share this again. Over.
Our connection to Tumwater, Willamette Falls, kind of goes back to time immemorial. Our tribes, our people tell the ancient stories, we call them, are the econom. In those econom, we have different ages of coyote, and one of those was the age of Skunkia, who was an ancient coyote that went along the river and kind of deemed the importance of the traditional foods to our people.
Our villages have always been above and below the falls. Our chiefs have been here to regulate the falls, the catching of the fish, and the trades that have happened here since the beginning.
The keepers of the falls were my grandfathers. They basically met and engaged with other tribes. We knew that there's a wealth of fish. This is a rich industry, and so it was a place of commerce for us.
Rugged cliffs dramatic mountains, and massive stone outcroppings. The Oregon Trail was one of our country's original highways, but there was no GPS. America's pioneers navigated their way across the continent using the landscape's dramatic features to guide their expedition. Journeying via covered wagons, carts, or even on foot, nearly 500,000 travelers made their way westward. After reaching Oregon, their paths flowed all the way to Oregon City as they floated down the Columbia and Willamette rivers, coming to a finale besides dramatic Willamette Falls. Water was a central part of the story of the Oregon Trail, and no more so than at its end. Here, at the confluence of the Clackamas and Willamette rivers, Oregon began to grow. There is much to explore in Oregon City, so come pioneer your own adventure in Oregon's hometown.
So there you have the first of 14 different videos that comprise what we call the community showcase. This is a way of educating our citizens about the history of this area, the whole history of this area. And with each video, there will be a discussion about the tribes and how they have lived and what they went through and their lives that they've led. And also, of course, the fact that they're still here. So it's an important piece for everyone to take a look at and to learn from. In addition, after the video, the citizens of Oregon City would take a quiz, about 3 or 4 questions. And if you get 80% of them right, your name is put into a basket, so to speak, and we pull the names, and 50 people will get an opportunity to dine at one of our 10 restaurants. Now, the restaurants will be 10 per month, different restaurants each month. But 10 people will have a gift certificate in the amount of $40 to savor the cuisine of our various restaurants. And those restaurants that actually were able to acquire $200 of gift certificates or even greater, we will have John McLaughlin, Dr. John McLaughlin, present a check to the restaurant, so that, and of course it will be on Facebook and all. But it's a wonderful way of bringing the old and the new together. And so I thank the tourism stakeholder group that worked on this for several months. Special thanks goes out to Matthew Weintraub and John Paul Bowles, who provided excellent, strong leadership in developing this program, and also to Lori Bell, who did an incredible job with outreach to the various restaurants in the city. So this is a great opportunity to support restaurants and a great opportunity to keep the history of Oregon City in mind. Any questions?
Thanks, sir. Any questions?
Mayor Holliday, please.
Commissioner McGrath.
Yes, I want to thank you, Mr. Graham, for your work with your staff and the efforts, and I'm very pleased to have been a part of the tourism stakeholder group. And I just want to remind everybody that we're still here in Oregon City, so come revisit us in Oregon City.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then, Kay, let's move on. What's next?
We have citizen comments, and we do have a citizen in the audience that has signed up for citizen comment. That is Chandra Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Hi. Hello. I'm Shanda Hall, Oregon City. Nice to see you all again. Thank you for doing the hard and unglamorous work of the city. Appreciate you all. I'm here as a representative to give a brief update on the Recall Dan Holliday campaign, which continues to be completely volunteer run and citizen driven. And wanted to let you know we have a weekly presence at the farmers market where we continue to gather signatures from conservatives, liberals, progressives, and all stripes in between. Our campaign remains relevant to all, it seems. And you can find several local businesses downtown where folks can sign the petition. I've been inspired, just want to say, by the energy and positivity and civic goodwill of the volunteers on this campaign. Most of us met here outside City Hall, actually, as we independently signed up to give citizen comment against the mayor. So thank you for unwittingly facilitating that team. I did want to speak briefly to a concern shared by a citizen who called in to the last city commission meeting. She voiced a valid concern about cancel culture. And I wanted to let her know and others that I do share this concern. Fundamentalism and censorship are dangerous weapons wielded by either side, the right or the left. But to classify this recall campaign as part of cancel culture is very misleading and inaccurate. For the record, we do want to state that Mayor Holliday was invited multiple times to sit down with citizens who were hurt by his various remarks, and we were not even, or the people who reached out with overtures did not even get a response. So I encourage her and other concerned citizens to visit recalldanholliday.com for the many reasons behind this recall effort. And I don't want to do a recall. This is not how anyone wants to spend their summer, honestly. It is a stressful time economically and health-wise. For our neighbors of color, there's the added stress of wondering if their children will be safe wandering through our town this summer. This recall effort takes time and energy that many of us don't have. I would rather be at a pool with a strawberry lemonade, little umbrella in it. But this is our line in the sand, and it is our job as citizens to hold local leaders accountable. And the questions that we ask ourselves are, at what cost do we accept the behavior exhibited by our mayor? And at what cost to our city as a mayor who will not hear the concerns of his citizens, commissioners, small business owners, school board members, everyday people? And at what cost, literally, as a mayor who costs us the taxpayers with every new gaffe? This came in the mail today. I'm thrilled. This is amazing. It's brimming with all of the things happening in our city, including the upcoming pandemic response that we're going to need. And we cannot handle 2 more years of this type of leadership. We are here at Recall Dan Holliday because we care, and Dan Holliday does not. And the hard part is, I think that he once did. So to any citizens listening, if you do want to sign, I'd love to meet you at the farmers market on Saturday. You can get your organic produce and exercise your democratic rights. And thank you for taking a stand here locally in our city for ethical leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me respond to that. The fact is that I've not been invited to sit down with anyone. I have responded to a few people who have either emailed or called me and have attempted to have conversations. But, and certainly Ms. Riggs can provide any emails in which I was invited to sit down with someone, but I have not been. So let's move on, Ms. Riggs.
I did have another citizen comment, but it seems that they have decided to hang up, so they're not on any longer. So we'll go ahead and move on with the agenda. That would take us to adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Conkle?
Yes, sir.
So I had a phone call with Ms. Riggs earlier, right after our exec session. Have you guys pulled anything besides the FNF structures thing off the agenda?
We have not. We could pull the manager's report, or we could, depending on the time, we could reschedule the executive session that's scheduled for after this meeting.
Okay, is everybody okay with the agenda minus the FNF structures item?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
So the next item is the temporary shower trailer at 1034 Malala Avenue, and that would be City Manager Tony Conkle.
Hang on, Mr. Conkle. Before we do that, has everybody read the citizen comments we've gotten via email?
No.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Koch, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, evening commissioners. So tonight I'm presenting a proposal for approval for Love One to locate a temporary shower trailer at Milner Veterinary Hospital at 1034 Malala Avenue, Oregon City for 1 day a week. This is very similar to previous proposals that we've brought forward to you. The original one was for providing a temporary shower at Father's Heart. Father's Heart was able to open their shower facilities, but at a much lower capacity than they traditionally have pre-COVID. We worked with the county and Ms. Bush on locating a shower trailer at the county facilities on Abernethy Road. Unfortunately, that did not seem to gain much traction or use from the community. So another alternative, a location that's been identified is this property with on Malala Avenue. So essentially, it would be similar to previous proposals where they'd bringing the shower facility, shower trailer to the property. It would be located on the property on Sunday evenings. It would be removed from the property once, it would not be stored on the property. It would be taken from the property once that's completed. Appropriate PPE would be in place. They'd be offering, you know, obviously hygiene opportunities for our homeless community at the location, as well as laundry opportunity, essentially changing out dirty clothes for clean clothes as they visit the facility. So I guess, like I said, I think you guys know the general context of how this works. Love One has worked with the property owner, as well as Clackamas County Emergency Services would be providing additional assistance potentially to make this as successful as it can be at that property. Ms. Bush from Clackamas County Emergency Services is on the line, as well as myself, to try to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Is Ms. Johnson here in representing Love One?
I am.
Yes.
I'd like to hear from you first, please.
Is there anything specific you'd like to hear from me, Mayor Holliday?
Well, one, name and city of residence for the record, and then whatever you have to say before I go to Ms. Bush.
Sure. Brandy Johnson. I live in Oregon City. I'm executive director of Love One. For several years, we ran free laundry at Carousel Cleaners, which is actually just across the road and down a little ways from the Milner site. We've had no complaints. We have experience not only working with people at risk for homelessness, but experiencing homelessness. We have volunteers who are trained in that work. We have been running the shower cart in Milwaukee the last couple of months. And Mr. Conkle is correct. We're working with EOC and Nancy Bush, as well as other local service providers. And Bill Stewart, Deputy DA, is on the line as well to answer any questions tonight. We are working with the District Attorney's Office to add some wraparound support services. So folks not only can get their hygiene needs met, showers, other things, but they can connect with some additional services. Our goal is to work with the police department, the homeless liaison officer, and try to connect people to the resources that they otherwise might be missing.
Ms. Bush?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you. And I'm Nancy Bush, and I'm one of the commanders at the Emergency Operations Center here in for Clackamas County in Oregon City. And I think Brandy did cover a lot of, of course, what we're trying to do here. And we at the Emergency Operations Center are in full support of this and have worked with Brandy to make sure we have everything in place, just like we would one of our own showers. And, it is, though we do have some efforts, of course, to replace some of the services that have been lost at Father's Heart, we haven't quite met that yet. And one of the needs that we're seeing is really on the hilltop, which, of course, is where this would be placed. Thank you.
Chief Mann.
Yes, sir.
Anything you want to say?
I do not.
Mr. Stewart, how about you?
Certainly. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, I just would ask you to consider this and would urge your support for it on a temporary basis to give us a chance to prove this concept. It's part of a broader strategy that the Homeless Solutions Coalition of Clackamas County, Love One, and the DA's office is trying to develop to address homelessness throughout Clackamas County. The showers will serve as a point of service where we can bring in other wraparound services to hopefully move people out of homelessness and mitigate the impact on the community. That's all I have unless you have any questions of me.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner O'Donnell.
So I find myself with a number of questions. First, Mr. Conkle's statement about the previous shelter location underutilized. Actually, the utilization was stated as zero. 0 participants used that. And my question to Ms. Bush and others is, have you examined why that was an absolute failure? Why no people chose to use that, despite it seemed to be in a very good location? So I asked that question because if you don't know why a previous place failed, how can you forecast that this will not fail?
So you're talking about the one on our property, Clackamas County property on Abernathy?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It is not along the path or in an area where the individuals that need that service frequent, and it was not in a place that was convenient, and even though we tried to advertise it, it failed. It was not in a place that we had individuals that would congregate and come to.
See, I find that interesting because it's proximate to Father's Heart, very close, actually.
It is. I don't disagree with you, but that's what we're finding.
And I struggle with the Father's Heart, what they say they can and can't do. I mean, they were always deemed to be an essential service. They were never shut down, even under the state directives. And so why do you feel that this, and I love Dr. Milner. He's my veterinary doctor. He's a kind and generous human being, but why do you feel his location, what do you have to offer that says this is why this location will be more successful?
And I'm going to let Brandy answer that question.
Certainly.
My understanding from listening to prior commission meetings and listening to Chief Band talk was that there is a need identified, and also from other service providers who do outreach in the Newell Creek Canyon area, is that a location up on the hilltop area was needed, partly because the population tends to be a little higher up there as far as needing access to those services, but also on a main strip along public transportation lines is going to be much more convenient for folks to access than, say, down off Abernathy. Not to say that there aren't folks, camping down by the cove. I acknowledge that. However, there are a significant number up in the Newell Creek Canyon area. And if we can get them connected to some additional resources, that seems to be the most effective location for us to try. And that's why we're asking for, say, 3 or 4 events to give it a try and then report back to see what our numbers are.
See, I don't disagree with those statements you made, Brandy. And I understand that there's a population down in Newell Creek, which is another subject entirely, but it has to do with this. Would not a better location be at the top of Newell Creek where, close to where our car wash is and our local gym is? Could we not provide some of that? Now that is proximate to where the population lives. And honestly, I don't see a big difference in distance between where that population currently lives and the former location at the county yard versus where it lives and the location at Milner. So I honestly feel we would do better to explore some other locations that would actually be even closer to the population we want to serve. And I'm questioning, does anybody take on that endeavor? Do you contact people like the car wash? Because I think he has, my secondhand information on that owner is he's very in tune with trying to provide for our displaced populations. Have you had conversations with anyone others, or do you just take the first volunteer that comes forward?
No, we don't just take the first volunteer that comes forward. We actually have a shower work group that's been working on this effort for months in cooperation with Emergency Operations Center and other service providers. Dr. Milner did offer his site up when he heard that this was something we were looking to do and that we needed a site up in the Hilltop area. My understanding is Vahid Brown with EOC has been trying to contact the owner of, and Dave Denny with Clackamas County. They've been doing outreach in the upper Hilltop area, trying to find a suitable location, and have not been able to get permission or find a spot that will work.
And I can speak to you have approached others and they've either been declined or felt. How many have you been able to? What's the number? 1, 2, 10, 30?
So this is Nancy Bush again, and I know of. I think there's been 3 sites that we have tried to put on the Hilltop, try to put some showers. And I don't know, Brandy may have worked with some others, but I know of 3.
I honestly feel in the interest of safety, there's better locations than sending people down Malal Avenue and Beaver Creek Road. That if there was closer to the top of Newell Canyon, it would strike me as a much better location. That's just an observation. I'll let others continue the conversation.
And I'll say too, I mean, some of the others that we've looked at, I mean, it's like we're sending them up Moala one way or the other.
To where?
Well, we looked at Clackamas Community College. We worked with them. They declined as well. We've looked at some of our own property in different places as well. And I know there was one other business, and I'm sorry, I can't remember, and I don't have my notes with me, but I don't know if Brandy knows any of that or not. But anyway, I mean, there's one way or the other, they're going to be going up or down Moala, because that is the best place. As Brandy said, that's the best place because it's along transportation routes. It's not far from the laundry, where, I think there's individuals that go to the laundry. So Milner is a good place for those reasons.
Commissioner O'Donnell, are you finished?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
I mean, we all want this to be successful. I just worried about, clearly the location down in Abernathy didn't work at all. And that worries me because we know there's a ton of people down there. In the Cove, Main Street Extension, and Abernathy Creek itself. I mean, every time I go down there's people down there. So that leads me to believe it's not that there weren't people there, it was that they didn't know or that they didn't take advantage of it. So the question is that going to happen at this next location? And my hope is not. But we don't know until we do it. I just feel saddened, I guess, by the fact that I think this has been a topic at a city commission meeting at least 3 or 4 past meetings about different locations and so forth. Nothing's worked. So something's wrong. And whether that's the way we're communicating with the population or the way that, I don't know what the problem is, but it's not working. So I'm willing to and I'm glad Milner's is willing to try it out. And, I'm okay with that to some degree, but clearly there's going to be neighbors and citizens around that area that have concerns, as we've seen in all the other locations. But we just need to find something that works, and so far we haven't. So good luck, and I hope we can fix the problem.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Yes, thank you. I am absolutely supportive of this program because I think it's desperately needed. I don't have to go over what others have said. I think we should try it for a couple of times, see if we have people that turn out. Obviously there needs to be some outreach to the homeless to let them know it's there. I don't think they're magically going to know. So I assume you're coordinating with our homeless liaison on our police department. I see Ms. Bush shaking her head, so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yes, we do. No, we do. And of course, we have the staff that we work with, the Clackamas County as well as the outreach. And yes, we do work with them.
So I assume maybe some advertising at Father's Heart as well. I assume they're on board as a partner as well of they're offering some showers, but maybe mentioning, hey, if we're full, we're at capacity, there's going to be a shower here at this location. So, you guys are, you know, at this point, I hope you're on top of it, and I hope it works. To address what Commissioner Smith said, I know this has come back to us a couple of times. It took us a couple of times to actually approve the shower at Father's Heart, and I actually only think we've tried it technically at the Abernathy Center, because right when we were standing it up at Father's Heart went back into production, so I don't think it ever got set up there. So technically, we've only tested it. I know we've talked about it 3 or 4 times, but we've only tested it once at the Abernathy, at the location off of Abernathy. So we'll see if this location works. I do like Commissioner O'Donnell's suggestion. I think the area around the car wash, you know, where Fred Meyer, there definitely is a congregation there, and it's kind of an entryway into Newell Creek. So if one of the property owners in that general area, if Milner doesn't work, I would like to thank Dr. Milner for offering his property. It takes compassionate people to work on this topic and to try to help our vulnerable community. I'm sure we're going to have some public comment about the neighborhood, so surrounding that. And so I don't know if you have a flyer about the event that maybe could be passed out to local neighbors in the Berkeley Hills neighborhood. So that outreach to the neighborhood, I'm sure, will be of interest to myself and the other commissioners. I'll stop there.
Commissioner McGriff.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Holliday. First of all, I want to thank you all for your work to date, but given that, I also have some questions. I'm disappointed that there wasn't the advertising and outreach that was needed for the Abernathy site, and I agree with Commissioner O'Donnell and Commissioner Smith that there are folks there, because I also see them there quite regularly. I'm in and out of that area at least 4 or 5 times a week. The one thing I am a little bit disappointed at, and I will just come right out and say it, is that we have a very strong system of neighborhood associations in Oregon City, as you're very well aware from our last discussion with the neighborhood that was subject to the area of Father's Heart. So if you've been working on this for months, why did you not reach out to the Berkeley Hills Neighborhood Association to make them aware of what was going on and your plans? Because basically, my opinion is knowledge is power. You weren't asking them for approval, but you would reach out to them to tell them. I think it's very important as you move forward with this, if you didn't understand that from our last encounter, you must help us by reaching out to our neighborhood associations. They are fundamentally our citizen involvement arm. Commissioner Lyle Smith is the representative of that, and I think it's really important that you work within that system to talk to people, because when they don't find out about it, and they find out about it after the fact, they're mad. And you don't want that. It's better to be proactive and go to these people ahead of time and talk to them and say, this is what we're thinking about doing. How can you help us? How can we help you? I think it's really, really important. I know that the chair of the Berkeley Hills Neighborhood Association is here tonight. So I just want to, let you know that that is really important here. And if you do this out in the county, you've got CPOs out there. Everybody is a partner in this, but they can't be a partner with you if they don't know about it. So thank you.
Ms. Riggs,
Yes,
is Ms. Laws there?
she is, and she did request to speak on this item.
Then let's hear her.
He can fill out a part afterwards.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
I only want one of you at a time, I'm sorry. And the only reason is because one of you will be removing your mask and the other one will not, and I don't believe, okay, sorry. And if you could sit in the one, sorry.
No problem. My name is Carla Laws. I'm the chair of Berkeley Hills Neighborhood Association. I'm obviously coming as a resident since we've had no notification. We had no idea these plans were happening. I do have some concerns. Number one, that we weren't told at all or warned or notified in any way. Number two, that obviously Milner is used as a veterinarian clinic. What that means in terms of obviously the use of his property is going to change slightly, and it will be obviously outside his building. I'm concerned for the neighbors up there on Warner. They don't have any idea. And then I'm also concerned about, obviously you're trying to address the Newell Creek Canyon population of the homeless. And boy,
I feel bad, like, you know, obviously there's showers that need to happen. We need to be kind, equitable. But what my problem is addressing Newell Creek Canyon. Technically, that's run by Metro, and Metro does not want a homeless population in there. They want to develop it. So I'm not saying that obviously there's a need right now. It's been advised by the state not to break up homeless camps at the moment because of COVID and moving it. But technically, I spoke to someone at Metro today. His name's Matt. Let me find my notes here. Sorry for a moment. I have to fill this out. He is the Natural Areas Land Manager, and he had told me that the state doesn't have any regulation on necessarily breaking up homeless camps. They're not doing it in Newell Creek at the moment because of the risk of COVID spreading. But ideally, they do not want homeless camps in there, that it's not good for the canyon, it's a geohazard, it's an environmental concern. And if you're actually looking at investing in renovating that, well, making that a native park, having the homeless, I mean, I live on Roosevelt Street. I have talked to neighbors down below Barclay Hills Drive, down in the neighborhood below. I've talked to neighbors on Warner. I'm hearing already concern the past few days about neighbors on Warner. There's families that are developing there. We also have lots of families in Lower Barclay Hills Drive that they have been concerned. Supposedly they've talked to Metro about it over and over. But Metro wants to develop that area. So it seems kind of, and I had spoken to him today, and he says there's so much we can do, but we need cooperation by private landowners. We need cooperation by the owner of Walmart. We also need cooperation from the city. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I also am here with Gary Avery. He has some insight of the neighbors around that area that I think would be important to share. And I'm just very disappointed that there was no cooperation with our neighborhood association. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Laws. Mr. Avery?
If you want to.
Okay. I don't think he has anything else to share. I'm sorry, Mayor.
I agree with her 100%.
He agrees with what Ms. Laws had to say.
Okay, thank you. Now, from the commission, Mr. Stewart, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to share, Dan Fowler sent me an email. He had actually tried to do the outreach to the car wash owner, and we made a specific ask to be able to see if he'd be willing to host a shower event there, and he said he was not interested in that.
Thank you, sir. Commission, do you have anything?
My only question, Mr. Mayor, is just to find out when the check-in period would be. I think there's general consensus, and we can take a motion, but I would just like to be a little more certain around, I think you're going to have a couple events, and when we would get an update that would allow the neighborhood association and neighbors to also provide public comment, and you can let us know how it's going, how many people have you served, et cetera, et cetera.
Would it be appropriate to set it for, we have a commission meeting on September 16th?
September 16th.
So then we would have the report on the 9th, so then they would, so that's, 1, 2, 3, that's roughly 4 weeks, potentially 5 if they spin up this week.
Does that work
of
for?
Events, because otherwise we've got a meeting on the 19th or we have a meeting on the 2nd, which.
Can I hear from the rest of the commissioners? Commissioner O'Donnell. Commissioner O'Donnell.
His video must have frozen.
I think he's frozen.
It appears that Mr. O'Donnell is frozen again, which is why I turned my video off, by the way. So, Commissioner Smith?
Nothing additional.
Commissioner McGriff?
Thank you, Mayor Holliday. I would support this subject to outreach to the surrounding neighbors and the Barclay Hills Neighborhood Association.
Commissioner O'Donnell, you froze for a second. Do you have anything to add?
You're muted.
You're muted, Frank.
Can you undo it, Katie?
There, yay!
I missed part of Mr. Conkle's presentation because there was a failure on my end, but I feel pretty strongly about engaging the neighborhoods, and I feel that we're really not analyzing previous failures. And I'm certainly in support of some form of service like this, but I just feel we throw a dart and we try a location, and I honestly feel we could be a better job. And I think maybe the administration of the program and site selection, but really, I'm very serious about engaging the neighborhood before we drop any sort of service in their area. So, not that I'm not in favor of the concept, but not the way it's being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I tend to agree with you to a certain extent. I think that this is kind of a surprise to us. But at the same time, I think it's worthwhile giving it a chance. So I would support, Mr. Conkle's concept of bringing it back to the first meeting in September and giving him an opportunity to prove plus or minus. But I still have the same issue that I've had all along with this situation. And that is that if we build it, will they come? And I think that's a possibility. So with that said, is there a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve the request subject to outreach to the neighbors and the neighborhood association.
What does that mean?
That means that they have an opportunity to either put flyers or however they want to do it to the people that are surrounding with information to say, contact us, we're going to be doing this, and that they get information to the Berkeley Hills Neighborhood Association so it can be disseminated to them.
Well, we can't approve it tonight subject to that. So either we're going to approve it tonight for a limited time frame or we're not.
What's the day that they want to start it?
We had requested to start in July and then for August to do the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th Sunday. So I suppose I would like to amend that to be August 9th, August 23rd, and when did you want us back?
September 16th.
Okay, so then also September 6th. So that would give us 3 events that I think would be a reasonable number to, as a test target.
Commissioner McGriff, would you amend your motion for that?
I don't have a problem with the dates. I think that it's very, very simple to get some information out to the neighbors between now and when they want to start.
Copy that. Commissioner Smith?
I'm fine. I second it, so I'm fine with the way it is.
Commissioner Lyle Smith?
I'm fine with it too. I guess we haven't heard from Ms. Johnson or Ms. Bush as to whether or not you can do the outreach.
I'm sorry, this is Nancy. We can definitely work with Ms. Johnson to get the flyers out, or at least get them to the homeowners association.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Sorry about that. Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Give it a try. Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye, let's move on.
So the next agenda item is the League of Oregon Cities priorities packet, and that would be City Manager Tony Conkle.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, Commissioners. Each year, the League of Oregon Cities sends out a request to each city to review the recommendations of top legislative priorities and ask that the cities provide input to the LOC Board of Directors as it prepares to adopt the next year's legislative agenda. The request is attached and asks that the City of Oregon City recommend 4 top priorities from the list provided. The executive team of staff met and discussed the available options, and to assist with the conversation, we did rank them based on our discussions, just as a starting point for the commission to consider. Our first priority was COVID-19 economic recovery investments, followed by infrastructure financing and resilience, mental health service delivery, and broadband infrastructure and technical assistance funding.
Is that from the list of A to Z there?
Yes, these were the top
1 through 9.
9 that we came up with, and then tried to rank the top 4.
I was just trying to match them with their list and the report.
That's
oh,
where we took
yes,
it.
okay,
Yep.
I see that, yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's some that we did not rank.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or assist the commission if there's different priorities, or how we can help get to a recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask Mr. Conkle a question, please?
Commissioner Griff.
Yes, I had a particular concern about item V on their list, which is reducing wastewater impacts of wipes and other non-flushables. And the reason is that it goes hand in hand with D. Right now, I am concerned that people are going through these wipes and things like there's nobody's business, because everybody's using them and they're going down the toilet, and that is going to cause problems for our infrastructure and other jurisdictions' infrastructure. So I don't know if that one can be tied into the COVID thing, because it's definitely a problem.
And we didn't prioritize that one because Water Environmental Services actually has a program and education that already exists
Yeah, they need to
around
ramp that up.
So it wasn't, there is an existing program that could be bolstered. I'm not, so when we're looking at these other ones,
Right,
which
okay.
potentially don't, that was some of the rationale behind that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Actually, I'm comfortable with the list that's there, and, I think they're all priorities, so whatever order, I'm fine with the way it is as written.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
I'm fine with it as written.
Commissioner Lyle Smith?
Yes, I guess my only question is about the broadband infrastructure. And why did the staff feel like that should be in your top 4? Because I think we can only submit 4, right? So.
Yeah, I think there was quite a bit of debate between that one and local speed setting authority, just based on what we've had discussions about lately.
Right.
When we think about what we're dealing with COVID right now, distance learning, distance working, we're probably going to see a shift out of the office to working from home. It just seems like, broadband access and infrastructure, even though we've gotten by, especially when you're talking about underserved communities, it seems like it's going to become a priority over the next couple of years. My
only comments on that is that the broadband is already a priority for the state, and where they're pushing it out, though, is more toward Eastern Oregon, and to reach rural areas, and so therefore I don't know that Oregon City would fall into that. I think we'll benefit from the push and the priority that's already there to support Eastern Oregon and other rural communities, and because of the issues in our own area, I would support swapping 4 and 5 and making local speed setting authority maybe in the top 4. And I love that you have the mental health service delivery. For me, that would probably be number 2.
Yeah, we went back and forth on that exact same conversation.
Okay.
So I would agree with Commissioner Lyle Smith on that. I think that, first of all, the county lied to us when they said that their dark fiber wasn't going to compete with commercial ISP providers, and now they're telling us that they are going to do that. More importantly, inside the 8 precincts in Oregon City, I don't think anybody has a problem receiving broadband. So I would support Commissioner Lyle Smith's idea about moving speed control up on the list and dropping broadband down.
Agreed.
Mayor Holliday?
Commissioner McGriff.
I guess I would say that since we've had an increase in the usage of broadband and all communications in that regard, it has never been slower, in my opinion, in Oregon City. It gets interrupted, stuff gets dropped, things just have not worked right. So it's not working perfectly. And it's been very disappointing when you get on a Zoom call and all of a sudden your whole thing just dies because the service provider, the system's overloaded.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you there, but as we come out of this COVID crisis, is that the most important thing we have to do? I would suggest that our ability to set speed limits on our local streets inside our city limits is more important than the limited
connectivity.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Connectivity.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that it's been kind of crappy. But no, I would much rather have authority to be able to set speeds, because I have totally disagree with ODOT and what they've done with speeds within our city limits. Particularly, as you know, over the years I've complained about Lynn Avenue. That Lynn Avenue, Holmes Lane, Holcomb are like Indy Speedways, Myers Road. It's just like people have just gone crazy.
So is there a motion? Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjust the top 4 priorities, being the COVID-19 economic recovery investments, infrastructure financing and resilience, mental health service delivery, and local speed setting authority.
Second.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Further discussion?
Question.
Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye. Let's move on.
I'll make a
consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call a roll.
Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye. Mr. Conkle?
So I provided to the commission 2 city manager updates. One was involving an update as requested on the charter park designation and the status of accomplishing that. Provided that the advertisement for the public to purchase the Campadero building is prepared. A quick claim deed to revert the Armory property back to the city is expected to be ready to sign in approximately 2 weeks. The historic inventory and documentation of the Campadero buildings has been completed by staff. Surveying of the property has started. A preliminary survey is anticipated by August 14th. A phase 1 environmental assessment has begun with preliminary results expected August 14th. The assessment will inform the scope of work for the demolition contract. So be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Riggs? Ms. Riggs?
Yes.
Do you have the public comment for Ms. Maury?
I do have the public comment for everyone.
I'm particularly interested for you to read into the record the public comment from Ms. Maury.
Is that any different than everybody else's public comment?
Yeah,
Have we all read it?
Read them all then.
That's fine with me.
Did we get that this afternoon?
Yes.
I haven't been home.
There's only
Katie, I know you sent that out.
I can pull it up on the screen if you want to read it.
I've not been in my.
Do you want me to read it?
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen
Been home since.
so that everybody can see it. And I'm going to. don't know if you
Okay,
can
I need
see
to go
it
back
there.
to the presentation. Sorry, I'm in the packet.
So what's the pleasure of the commission? Yep.
Want me to read the record?
Would you like this read?
No.
No.
I can read it.
No, I've read it.
I can read it.
Commissioner O'Donnell has read it.
No, we don't need to read it.
Okay.
I can read it.
Okay, would you like me to continue?
As far as I'm concerned, this is public comment, and I would like to have it read to the people of Oregon City.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
Are there other public comments, Mr. Conkle?
Yes, there are.
On this issue or other?
On multiple issues.
I think this is the only one for this.
This is the only one about the park.
Yep.
There was comments about F&F, quite a few comments about the shower facility.
Well, we didn't read any of those into the record, so I read it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But if we're going to read everybody's into the record, we either read everybody's or nobody's. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's move on.
So can I ask a question? Please, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Thank you. Mr. Conkle, is there a plan to give a presentation to PrAC about all of the activities that are happening? I believe we've heard from a couple of members on PrAC that, the city commission has been moving things forward, and I don't think PrAC has been looped in. And so I'm just wondering, do you know if it's on an upcoming agenda for PrAC, or can we request a presentation? I mean, they should know what's going on.
Yes, my understanding is I'll check in with Mr. Reed once again. He met with them last Thursday, and they wanted to bring this topic up for discussion to make a recommendation to the commission. So it's my understanding that yes, they'll be receiving a presentation, but I will follow up with him to confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Which recommendation do they want to make?
What's up to them?
About the upper yard and designating it as a park or a charter park or.
My understanding, they've already voted on that.
They did in 2008.
I'm sorry, I'm going to butt in here.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I was trying to get a clarification of what Mr. Conkle was asking, and he's clarifying it, so I can understand.
I understand what you were doing, Commissioner.
No, I'm not doing anything.
Commissioner, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The fact is that Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee was pretty dysfunctional under Mr. Lewis. And under Mr. Robertson, it has started to come back. And I think these folks need to have the opportunity to have their opinions heard as the advisory committee for Parks for Oregon City.
Yeah, I think my comment was that they, at a minimum, need to be briefed on the actions the commission has taken. We're taking very proactive steps and heading in a very clear direction. And I don't think they knew that we were meeting about this topic. I don't think, we've had a change in leadership. So I was just, my only suggestion was that they should at least be briefed on, like this, you gave us an update, but an ability to have a question and answer session with someone from the city.
Understood.
I appreciate it. I believe that Mr. Robertson did keep them up to date on what was going on. At least that's what he told me, so.
Is there anybody else?
Commissioner O'Donnell raised his hand.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Simply because I also received a call from a member of PrAC. They did initially vote on it. It may have been a number of years ago. The composition of that committee may have changed. They'd like the chance to review it and see what we're doing and provide their input, and that's their role as PrAC. So I personally don't object to them having the opportunity to review matters underway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Look, Mr. Conkle, let's move on.
Thank you. So I have an update And just bringing this to make sure that the commission is aware that the police department applied for a community-oriented policing services, a COPS grant, and they were successful in receiving that funding. As we've been moving through COVID, as well as dealing with our homeless population, mental health issues, substance abuse issues that we continue to see and that we respond to, the decision was made to reallocate a full-time police position to a mental health specialist position. And we're currently underway in recruiting to fulfill that position. And so what we were going to do was, obviously, at the next budget session, goal setting and budget preparation, was have a discussion about adding back in one full-time equivalent police position. With the success of the COPS grant and with everything that's going around COVID, how that grant money can be used has expanded. And so historically, where we were going to use this in a very targeted manner, we can use it in a more general manner now. So what we would like to do is move forward with the COPS grant funding, which provides 3 years of prorated funding for the position with a commitment that we fund the position for a minimum of 12 months. So it's a 4-year commitment. But the funding actually covers, and I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble reading in the dark here. We're awarded the maximum $125,000 for the grant. And so while in this current budget year that we're in right now, through June 30th of 2020, we have the ability to cover that difference. It's approximately a $29,000 allocation that we'll need to bring this position on. But for the next biennium, we would be committing ourselves to an additional $67,000 roughly over those 2 years for that position. But we do believe that we were going to make the ask to bring back the FTE, and we may or may not have been successful. But this is an opportunity with significant investment through the COPS grant to bring an FTE on now. And really keep our level of service exactly where it's at while adding this mental health service provision to help and assist our officers in the field. So just wanted to make you aware that we are somewhat committing ourselves to funding in a next budget cycle. Just like I said, if there are significant concerns, we don't need to do the grant. We can still walk away at this point. Chief Band, did I miss anything?
Yeah, there's only one little clarification was Tony had said that 66,000, and I think he's got the printout like I do. On the next page, so that in the second year of this, so the first year of the next biennium, that would be 66 and some odd thousand, and then the third year would be $95,000. So it'd be a total of probably $50,000, $60,000 some over those that 2-year period.
That we would have to pay?
Yeah, so the grant progressively pays less. So the first year we'd only pay $28,000 of the full all-in cost of an officer. The second year we pay a little more, the third a little more, and then we have to fully fund the officer in what would be the fourth year.
So is this a sworn officer?
Yes.
Okay, so they can still be a regular cop on the street if we need them.
Well, that's exactly what they beat. So we put in for 2 grants. We put in for a mental health crisis worker grant, a federal grant. It's very competitive, hundreds of submissions, and I think there's going to be 20-some people that actually get the grant. Kelly Dielbeck, our business manager, did that grant and the COPS grant. We've yet to hear on the mental health crisis worker grant, but basically, the more we thought about this, whether we get that grant or not, we need to add this position for a variety of reasons. So this COPS grant came along at the right time, and I think a lot of people are pulling back SROs, and so we had reached out and said, hey, we're not going to be able to add an SRO at this point, but could we use this for regular officer? And they said yes, because of I think there's a lot of, because of everything that's been going on, there's been a lot of people pulling back on SRO.
So what is the difference between this and a regular, and I hate to use that term, but just normal cop?
So there's none. So what we did is right now that we're down, we have 3 open positions just as we've had people leave. And so while we're filling those positions, rather than fill one of them, I wanted to use that money to hire this mental health crisis worker, because I think the need for that right now for us in this city is huge. And so we were going to forego hiring an officer position. That was going to be the cost of hiring this mental health crisis worker. Well, this grant came, and our plan had been at the next budget, when we were talking about the budget next time, is to come back and try and get that officer position back. And then this grant came up, and so the fact that we could use it now, we can cover this first year. There's been a pretty good reduction in overtime and with these open positions. But I think what we were worried about was if we commit to this, we're sort of committing the city to the next budget discussion of hiring, or at least paying for the portion of this full-time officer hire back. And we didn't want to do that without bringing that back to you.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Just clarification, did I understand Mr. Conkle correctly that our obligation initially is for 12 months and we could reassess it after that? And I certainly agree with the need for mental health. I've been there. I understand what officers have to provide, but is it 12 months and then we can reassess and continue, or we could choose to not pursue it?
The position would be
locked into the years.
So the grant pays for a portion of the position for 3 years, and then we're committed to the 12 months of the 4th year.
Oh, okay. Understood. So we're committed to a long-term period.
Correct.
Commissioner Smith, anything?
No, I support that.
Commissioner Lyle Smith?
I 100% support this.
Commissioner McGriff?
I don't see how we can turn it down, and I support the chief in this effort. I think we need this, and it's going to take, more than a couple of years just for this person to get established and get them to working with people and understanding people, that the people that they are going to be working with, that they can be that this officer can be trusted. I think this is a great thing. Thank you for bringing this to us.
And I support this as well. Anything else, Mr. Kunkel?
No, sir.
Then, unless there is, Commissioner Communications, Commissioner McGriff.
Yes, just wanted to report that I had the first meeting with the Metro South community group that's meeting to look at Metro South Station. I'm not there representing the commission, but I'm a resident of Oregon City, but with all the hats, yes, I'm there to represent us. And as soon as I have something concrete to report on what they're going to be looking at, I will bring that back to you. I would also like to request of you and my fellow commissioners that since we still have a vacancy on the OC 2040, that I would like to be appointed as your alternate for this group, so that I can get back into the loop and you guys can utilize my skills in that way.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Yes, so there was an impact meeting, that's the Metro Policy Advisory Committee that met on July 8th. That's the first time we had actually been back in months. The key item that we got an update on was about the Regional Supportive Housing Services Program, the Metro Measure 26-210 that passed by voters in May. Essentially, what's going to happen is the counties are responsible for implementing the housing program, and all of the counties, Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah, have to come up with local implementation plans. So if we want to have a part of this, or we want to know more about it, Jill Smith with Clackamas County is our point person, and that was it.
Commissioner Smith.
I have nothing.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Our typical meetings with individual citizens and groups, including we teamed up with Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith and had an interesting meeting with representatives of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, but just business as usual.
Okay, I have nothing to report at this time. With that, we're adjourned. Into executive session.
Okay, thank you. Are we staying on this one?